Welcome to Being Humans. We're better together. I'm Ian Christopher Wendt. Contemporary physics theory is fascinating, productive, often useful, and sometimes truly mysterious, speculative, and often not applicable to the physical universe. In the face of such mystery and the unknown, we ought to adopt humility and open-mindedness. Unfortunately, notwithstanding the admitted limits of physics knowledge, many people, including many scientists and many physicists among them, continue to make strong claims about the cosmos, the quantum realm, consciousness, human agency or determinacy, and even the much sought-after theory of everything. In this episode, we'll explore a variety of the limits of physics theory and propose an open, humble approach to understanding our perspective and our place in the universe. Let's begin with uncertainty. The famous Heisenberg uncertainty principle can be summarized thus: we cannot simultaneously know both the position and momentum of a particle, such as an electron, with perfect accuracy. The more we nail down the particle's position, the less we know about its speed or direction, and vice versa. The reason for this is that when we observe objects, we bounce electromagnetic waves off of them. Very small objects are influenced by such interactions. So when you see a particle's location, you change its momentum. This applies to many things, even in the human sphere. Social scientists have found that when you observe humans and they become aware of it, they change their behavior. In other words, the act of seeing, examining, and describing the world subtly alters the world. Sometimes the effect is not subtle at all. And often when we communicate about the world or society or even the universe, our true purpose is to change how people see and act. That is certainly my intention. I want to influence you to value your life and consciousness and recognize that it's fundamentally connected to the lives of the people around you. And I hope that by doing so, you'll be encouraged to live more meaningfully, effectively, and thrive. But in terms of physics, the uncertainty principle means that we can never obtain perfect knowledge of the location and momentum of elementary particles. Even with the most powerful computer imaginable, it would be impossible to input enough information about the motion of all particles such that it could simulate the future. In a related principle from quantum mechanics, physicists recognize that a system can exist simultaneously in multiple mutually exclusive states until the moment you observe them, and then they resolve into a single but unpredictable state. This applies to atomic decay, for example. This principle is called indeterminacy. A critic of this view developed a thought experiment to unpack the philosophical implications of quantum indeterminacy called Schrodinger's cat, a famous thought experiment that asks you to imagine a cat in a box with a mechanism that might kill it. Until you look inside, the cat is both alive and dead at the same time. I don't know about you, but I don't know anyone who's alive and dead at the same time. A variety of physicists, including Einstein and Schrodinger, found this duality and unpredictability in quantum mechanics unsupportable. Einstein rejected it, famously saying, "God does not play dice with the universe." The uncertainty principle and quantum indeterminacy revealed that the fundamental nature of the universe at its smallest scales, the scales from which physicists want to build their mathematical theories of everything, are characterized by unknowability, uncertainty, and duality. The universe refuses to be nailed down. The best we can do is make statistical predictions and accept that multiple options are true at once until they are observed. In a previous episode, we devoted some time to considering whether humans had the space and capacity to make choices. It's very puzzling to me that physicists shrug off the fundamental indeterminacy of the quantum world and yet argue that humans are determined and have no agency. There are larger scale examples of uncertainty and unknowability in the universe. At the center of most galaxies are supermassive black holes that are thousands, even millions or billions of times more massive than the sun. These black holes contain at least two great mysteries. The first mystery is everything inside of them. Black holes form when a huge amount of matter collapses due to gravity into a tiny space and pulls everything within range into it, including photons or light. The result is a portion of space that nothing can escape from, or almost nothing. The edge of a black hole is the event horizon. Nothing inside the event horizon can be observed, nor can anything within the event horizon affect something outside of the event horizon. They are permanently separated. So the inside of a black hole is a fundamental mystery. Related to this is the center of a black hole, which is most frequently described as a singularity, a point in space with infinite mass. But infinity of any kind is anathema to physics. If a scientist produces an equation to describe the universe and it produces infinities, it is usually in error. Infinities and singularities are points where the laws of physics as we know them break down. They challenge the predictability of the universe and the consistency of the theories of physics. Physicists reject such infinities. Nevertheless, the center of black holes create just such a contradiction. Next, we've spent a bit of time discussing dark matter, which physicists say constitutes about 27% of the mass energy in the universe. Physicists have a variety of indirect evidence that dark matter exists, but it is still unobservable and unknown. Even more mysterious is dark energy, which physicists calculate constitutes about 68% of the mass energy in the universe. It is completely unknown. All we can say about it is that a huge volume of dark energy is necessary to explain why the universe would be expanding, and that such expansion is measurably accelerating. It seems to be an aspect of space itself, a kind of fundamental pressure from emptiness, which bends my mind just to say it. Interesting, but utterly mysterious and unknown. Let's pause for a moment to point out a fundamental conclusion. Contemporary physics theory, which everyone can find and read, says that 95% of the universe is composed of things that we cannot see or measure or understand. Dark matter and dark energy barely interact with visible matter, except to push or pull it around in ways we cannot directly observe or measure. If I told you that I was an expert on something, and then I told you that 95% of that thing was mysterious and unknowable, how would you respond to me? There's more. A wide variety of people have recognized that the universe is fine-tuned for the development and support of life, including conscious life. If the fundamental parameters of the universe were even slightly different, then life would be impossible. Some of these fine-tuned principles or characteristics include the strength of gravity, the strength of the electromagnetic force, the existence of stable atoms and molecules, and many other characteristics of systems that support life here on Earth. This is called the anthropic principle. The universe, our universe, must have these characteristics or there would be no life, no human life, and no conscious life capable of observing the universe. There does not seem to be a reason why these characteristics of the universe needed to be tuned in this way. It could have been otherwise, but if it were otherwise, there would be no life and no conscious beings to observe the universe. This principle leads some people to conclude that the universe itself constitutes evidence for order and purpose. Many go further to argue an outside intelligence, or God, is responsible for the shaping of the habitable universe. Some physicists are convinced, most are not, and so they theorize that since the universe is the result of a random explosive event followed by rapid inflation, the fact that our universe supports conscious life is also random chance. And since the likelihood of so many physical principles, constants, and characteristics all falling within such narrow and specific confines is vanishingly improbable, then there must be a nearly infinite number of universes beyond our universe in which all of the other non-life and non-conscious life-sustaining universes also exist. This is the multiverse. But we can never observe them or cross between them. We're not talking about universes in which Peter Parker is actually Gwen Stacy or Miles Morales. We're talking about universes in which there is no matter, because matter and antimatter completely canceled each other out within the first moment of existence. Or universes in which gravity does not hold matter together and everything zoomed apart and never bound up to form any structures. Or universes in which gravity was so strong that all matter collapsed back in on itself immediately. Or millions of other possibilities where there's no life and no consciousness. Okay, that's an interesting philosophical speculation. But what's the use? Can we ever measure or observe such multiverses layered in brains across infinite dimensions? Can they increase human intelligence or flourishing in any way? No. The only purpose of such multiverse arguments is to maintain that the universe is an accident, and so are you. You have no meaning or purpose. And let's be honest, the multiverse has no meaning or purpose. It's anti-human. It's another example of the bizarre argument, hey, meat robots, you're meat robots with no choice and no purpose. It is pure religion for people who reject religion. Why choose to vociferously argue that your own life and everyone else's life is pointless? Why devote energy to pointlessness? Seriously, it is philosophically incoherent. If something is pointless, why devote energy to it? Why try to convince others that they should believe it and support it? Most physicists work for the government, at universities, or research laboratories. Why do so many people use their limited time and energy? We only have about 100 years if we're lucky, to argue so strongly that the universe and life is an accident with no purpose or meaning, while trying to convince others to listen to them and pay them for making the argument. It doesn't make sense. We could go on. String theory, 9-dimensional space, modified gravity, 6-dimensional Calabi-Yau manifold shapes, on and on. Okay, stop. Let's take a moment to remember that physics is great science that describes how the Earth and the universe works. It's the foundation of science and technology that gives us satellites, cell phones, computers, energy grids, engineering marvels, and so many things we value in our lives. And even the speculative stuff is fascinating philosophy. I really like physics. I read physics articles regularly. I do have a point. And it is not to disregard physics. Physicists do great things. Let's continue. For the last 50 years, many physicists have proliferated a wide range of speculative, unknowable, mysterious ideas that do a couple of different things. Either one, these principles demonstrate to us that the universe is mysterious and fundamentally uncertain, indeterminate, immeasurable, unknown. And again, they admit that we can only imperfectly observe 5% of the universe, and that portion is fundamentally uncertain and indeterminate. Or, 2, these principles are devoted to describing things that exist outside of the universe, outside of 4-dimensional space-time, beyond our ability to even observe, test, or measure. And yet, they continue to assert that they are getting closer and closer to discovering the theory of everything. They continue to argue that their math equations determine how everything works, including you, your illusion of consciousness, and your false belief in choices. And their arguments are repeated by other philosophers, scientists, and experts of many kinds. There is no spirit, no soul. There is no God. There is no meaning. There is nothing outside of what we can see, measure, and write math equations about. Can you see the contradiction? Many scientists spend much time describing how the universe is mysterious and unknowable, including infinite multiverses. But they simultaneously reject evidence that the universe is perfectly shaped to support life and conscious life, that there is evidence of order and intelligence written across the cosmos within fundamental forces and elementary particles and your DNA. Many also reject the meaningful symbolic stories that most humans, through all generations of conscious human storytelling, have remembered and used to connect and direct their lives. What's the alternative? Again, I really like physics and all of these principles, even the speculative weird ones. I draw a completely different set of conclusions, and I leave it to you. But I think these conclusions are both more useful and more meaningful. Science, physics in particular, demonstrates that the universe is mysterious and unknown. There's a lot we can see, measure, and understand, but there's so much that we can't. We've given numerous examples today of uncertainty, indeterminacy, boundaries of our knowledge, black holes in our vision, and massive swaths of the universe that are dark. So let's be humble in the face of the unknown. Let's recognize that there's a great deal of scope for human consciousness and agency. Let's focus on specific ideas and investigations that contribute directly to the flourishing of life, intelligence, and awareness. And outside of science, let's respect the wide variety of beautiful, speculative, mythological, and deeply meaningful human philosophies, practices, and stories about where we came from, why we're here, and where we may be going, and how we can act symbolically and socially to get there. Let's promote relationships and communities that foster human life and thriving. And I'm not alone. An increasing array of physicists and biologists are recognizing that the universe is not a bunch of separate particles, or a machine, or a factory. Some scientists are arguing that the universe is fundamentally relational, that consciousness is part of the fabric of the universe, that living cells are not machines determined by genes, but are thoroughly interconnected with complex external forces, including your choices. In the end, you are the one who needs to choose. I think physics gives us plenty of evidence that the entire visible universe is shaped by binding, connecting, forming complex structure, and building life, all of the way from quarks and electrons to atoms, to stars, to planets, to bacteria, to complex plants and animals, to humans in networks of intelligent consciousness. And I think there is space for you to choose to build a meaningful life in the physical universe. There's also ample room for spirit, whatever that may be, and much, much more. If this is meaningful and encouraging to you, please connect and share with your people, your friends, your mom, your brother or sister, your daughter or son. And please join us. Like, subscribe, comment, share. Participate and support our community. Amen, amen. This is the way of being humans together.